Hey, carnivore hunters, this is Rick.
Hey, and this is Doug. So, guys, here in Colorado, we're coming up on the big game draw results day. So, Rick and I are getting very excited, and we thought we'd share with you guys our hunting pack loadouts. Now, we're for our hunting packs, we do day packs. We're not doing backcountry. We're not, hiking our tents in all that deep. We have a day pack set up. So, we're going to cover that here with you, and Rick's going to get us started.
Yeah, so we're breaking this up into three categories. We've got general items you have in your pack that for stuff you might need throughout any given day, and then we have your harvesting essentials. So when you tag out on your deer or your elk or moose, whatever you're hunting, the essentials you're going to need to get that animal out of the field, and then survival stuff for if you get lost in the woods and have to spend the night out in the woods and stuff. And so we're going to start with general, and the first thing you're going to need in your pack is tissue for doing your business out in the woods. Or I tend to get a runny nose a lot, and so it's good to have some tissue. And you're going to notice a lot of the stuff here we demonstrate is in a Ziploc, and that's just to help keep it dry.
Yeah. Yeah, and also some wet wipes as well, because again, you're kind of out in the forest, and you do want a way to bury this stuff when you're done as well. Be considerate of the other people that are out there and or may come across, where you've been in the forest as well. But
Yeah.
definitely take care of that.
Yeah, and
And
that's just a courtesy, right?
yeah. So next thing on our list is just general everyday snacks. You're going to be out there hiking. You're going to burn a lot of calories. For a lot of people, I mean, we used to take the chips and the sandwiches and all that stuff. Now we've kind of switched over to where we're making kind of a carnivore trail mix where it's various kinds of jerky and bacon and just kind of put all into a bag, which actually I think I like better anyway. So
Yeah, me too. And we're actually going to start making some pemmican this year,
yeah,
and we'll bring that to you guys. We've got a lot of great ideas for ways to stay carnivore while you're out there on the trail. The other, probably one of the most important essentials, is having water, and whether you carry it in a plastic bottle or you probably don't want to do stainless because you don't want to add that weight to your pack. A lot of people use the bladders. Doug and I have found in the past that the bladders don't really work for us because I don't know about you, Doug. In my mind, when we have the bladders and you forget to empty that water and then you go to use it next time, it's got this horrible odor and mold and stuff. So
yeah.
water shouldn't mold, right? And so what do they make that bladder out of where you're getting that odor or mold or whatever? So we just pack a bunch of bottled water.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure, I mean, there's no such thing as pure water, so I'm sure there is a little bit of mold in there, but
Yeah, it
just
could
even
be.
even when I wash the bladder out thoroughly and get some bleach in there or whatever, I feel like there's still some kind of a weird smell from the tube, um,
Yeah.
the little
And
straw thing. So I don't
and
know. I just didn't like after the second year. I'm like I'm not using this thing anymore.
and on a cold day that tube will freeze on you
Mm,
and you're not going to be
true.
able to suck the water out of there anyway. So we we opt for the bottled water.
Yeah.
It
So
might make the pack heavier initially, but throughout the day it gets lighter.
yeah, absolutely. And then you just carry the empty bottles out with your trash at the end of the day and make sure that's all taken care of.
Yeah, you can
Um,
crush that plastic down, put the cap on, and then you just are adding more room to your pack.
mhm. Next thing on our list is a headlamp and or flashlight. And most of you might think of this as something as like a safety feature, and it is. But when you're out hunting, you're typically trying to get out before first light. So when you're walking through the middle of the woods, you want some sort of headlamp at least, or a flashlight. I actually have one of the colored headlamps now, because deer and elk supposedly can't see red, so it's got that kind of a red glow to it.
Yeah,
Try
the
to
red filter.
help you stay a little bit more stealthy. But that's definitely something that you need to have with you, some sort of headlamp and a flashlight if you.
Yeah, and you just brought up a good point, Doug. A lot of these things on this list that we're going over may have dual purposes for between general harvesting and survival. So uh, the next thing on our list is, with technology getting better these days, uh, it's good to have a solar charger on your pack. You can carabiner it to the outside of your pack, so you can keep your phone charged. You can keep flashlights charged, and I mean everything is rechargeable these days. And these are a little bit heavy. I'm not sure exactly how heavy this is, so it's going to add some weight, but it's going to be a very beneficial for you to have this on your pack. Where I think somewhere on our list you have extra batteries, but
Mhm.
if you have rechargeable stuff, this is going to be the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. So next on our, well, actually, next section for us is going to be harvesting essentials. So you've had a successful hunt. What do you need to have with you? And actually, this one probably should just kind of gone in the general. The first thing on our list here would be your hunter safety card and your license and any other certificates you may need, and certifications that you may need for the particular hunt that you're on. Um, Obviously, particularly with big game, when you harvest, you do need to, in most states, need to attach your license to the animal. But however, like in Colorado, you get pulled over by the game warden. They may ask to see your license and hunter safety certificate, even before you've had a chance to harvest anything. So that's definitely something you want to make sure you have on you. I have one of these little DACA wallets from Magpul. That's why, just nice and slim, and I can have my hunter safety certificate and all my licenses right there in my pocket.
Well, and to clarify on other certifications, um, in Colorado, you need a special class and to be certified to hunt mountain lion. And
Right.
so I have that in my pile of stuff here somewhere, but I am certified to hunt mountain lion if I want to buy a mountain lion license. Uh, so the next thing we're going to talk about is our knives. And so I recently made a video on this outdoor edge. And I really think, because typically in my backpack, I would carry 2 or 3 knives. And I think with this outdoor edge, I'm not going to need to do that anymore because it's got replaceable blades. So as you're out there skinning, quartering an elk and skinning it out, uh, when you have a blade go dull, you pop one blade out and pop the other one in. And I think I'm really going to love this knife. Our brother-in-law uses one of these, and he absolutely loves it. And
Yeah.
and then Doug, you just recently bought uh, what's that? The Razor
The
Raptor,
the,
right?
the Raptor razor. It
Raptor
actually
Razor.
comes in this little pouch, um, and basically this knife is on a little hook. And it also has the changing blades, and then you have this handle that kind of goes through with a little toolkit inside it. But this is supposed to help with that extra tough hide, particularly like on the neck of an elk. I haven't actually had a chance to use it yet because last year we were not successful for elk, but definitely looking forward for that one. Also, and I think I just mentioned this, but this also has the interchangeable blades as well. So
Give
that's
the
very
viewer a good
nice.
shot. Give the viewers a good shot of the gut hook and show them how big that is. And
Yeah.
that's going to be
Let's see if that. Oop, there we go.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean that thing is huge, and it's going to cut through that elk hide, especially along the back. That's like the toughest thing to cut
Yeah.
through when you're out there in the field.
And you actually, it's got two blades. You have the one along the bottom here, as well as this on the top. Again, it looks like it's going to be really handy for skinning. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to demo this for you after this season or during this season, and we'll let you know what we think of it once we have the opportunity.
Yeah, and something I want to bring up here real quick, Doug, because I'm not sure it's on our list. But I want to bring up, this is a bone saw. You should not need a bone saw out in the field, but you never know what kind of situation you're going to get into where you may actually need it. And this one is super light. That it's a cheap one. The plastic, or the handle's plastic, and so it doesn't add a whole lot of extra weight to my pack. So you can see there's no rust on it, never been used, but you just never know when you're going to be in that situation.
And worst case scenario, you could use that bone saw just on wood if you needed to gather additional firewood. I mean, it's not ideal. You'd probably have to replace it after that.
But and it would put you in a survival situation, which is our next category. But
right.
I digress.
So next for harvesting this is also a newer tool for us. This is the butt out. This is actually for helping to remove the anal cavity of your deer or elk. It's only like $10, I think, on Amazon, and I bought it a couple of years ago, just curious as to whether or not it would work. And we did get the opportunity to try it last year, and frankly, it worked like a charm. It worked really well. So definitely for something very small and pretty lightweight, it's worth having in your pack for $10 easily.
It is. I will say though, Doug, that it is one of those tools you got to practice with. It worked for us, but it didn't work perfectly.
Yeah.
And actually, we'll try to bring you guys a video of the butt out this year, because it's a great tool, because usually the first cut you make is right around the anus. And man, it was a good call buying that, Doug. And I actually went out and bought one myself. So hopefully we'll get a video of that for you guys this year. So next on the list is, and this is going to seem like a no-brainer, but game bags. Particularly if you shoot an elk or, a bigger animal, moose, whatever, you're not going to drag that out in a lot of cases in one piece. So you're going to have to quarter it out. And so you're going to want to have game bags. Do you have any handy, Doug? I don't have any handy.
No, I think mine are in your
Oh, that's right. Anyways, all you experienced hunters out there, you know what that is. If you're an inexperienced hunter, do some research on your game bags, because there's some one and dones. There's some that are reusable if you wash them. We use the reusable ones because they're pricey, but they're worth it.
Yeah, but it's a one-time purchase, and they come in another bag that you can carry them around in. I just prefer those, but it's basically just a way to keep the meat, to keep all the dirt and bacteria off of your meat once you've done cleaning your harvest. So next on here is, and this is depending on the type of hunting you do, this is either game calls is either something you're going to use to call in the animals if you're going out during, let's say, archery season. We don't archery hunt, or we haven't been archery hunting recently. We're usually out during rifle season, and the game calls are not as useful for calling in an animal, but they can help you to stop one that might be considering running. So if you can, give it a little, if you're afraid that you're going to miss your opportunity, you can kind of give a little toot, and they'll stop and look and try to figure out, oh, who is that over there? So that's
and
definitely,
we've done that.
Yep, we have done that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you'll hear a lot of guys say, "Oh, just whistle at them." Yeah, well, why not talk to them in their own language?
Exactly.
Right. So next on the list is some nitrile gloves. There's a lot of controversy whether chronic waste disease is transferable to humans. I recently heard a report that they're finding that it is. I don't know that I believe that, but um,
Yeah.
it's just an option. I personally don't use them. I think our dad does, right?
Uh,
Um,
I think I've seen him actually put them on once. I've always carried them with me, but I never actually end up putting them on when the time comes. So, um, I mean, but honestly, even if like, let's say you end up in a situation, if you come across another person who's injured and might be bleeding, I would be more likely to put these on if I was administering medical aid to another person than I am when field
that's a
dressing
great
our
point.
deer.
Yeah, and
So,
you could run into that situation out. It's a sport where whether it's with a weapon or a fall or
yep.
whatever. Yeah, that's a great point. That could be under safety or survival.
Yeah, could be. Yeah,
Uh,
but and a lot of these are multiple things.
yeah,
The next on the list is zip ties. This is actually, I don't know if you have any handy, Rick. I don't. I didn't. I need to restock my bag, but um,
I do
the
too, actually.
zip ties great for attaching your license to your harvest. Um, and can be used for, if you have a couple of them, you can use them as a tourniquet in a survival situation. um but all kinds of things that, I mean, half of which I probably can't even think of right now, but it's just nice to have on you. But
Mm,
we typically use them for the harvest. That's what we've used them most for.
yeah. Next on the list is, and this I do have, is we usually get the 1,100 pound paracord. Um, and this is, I mean, the possibilities are endless, as you can imagine, for dragging out an animal or hanging quarters or who knows, dragging out an
Yeah.
injured person in a sled.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
which,
paracord is amazing.
and we do have a sled that we take with us. If I don't know if you guys saw our video last year, we actually do have a game cart now that we use as well. But we have both, and kind of brings between the paracord and a harness. You can put this harness on. I think Rick has one, and tie one end to the harness, put it over your shoulders, and just drag the sled out that way. A lot easier on the hands than trying to hold on to that rope as you're pulling a several 100 pound animal over logs and dirt and
Yeah.
snow and all that stuff.
And it's got this D ring that you can hook a carabiner up to hook up to your sled. And then you're basically rucking. I
Yep.
just made a video on rucking. Um, but yeah, this has been amazing for us for getting animals out of the field.
Hmm.
I can't recommend this enough, guys. I mean, you see a lot of guys with the packing quarters out on their back. They could be packing out quarters and dragging something if they have the leg strength and the back
Hmm.
strength, I suppose. I mean, this is an amazing tool to have in your pack, and it doesn't weigh a whole lot. It's not going to take up, uh, or it's not going to weigh down your pack a whole lot. Next thing we have on the list is pins, um, and that's really it's for signing your license
Yep.
when once you harvest your animal. So just have that pin in there ready to go so you can sign your tag and tag your animal right away. That's the rule in Colorado. I
Yep.
don't know what it is in other states, but if you're in Colorado, you got to sign it and tag it before you do anything else, before you start dressing it out. Step one is sign the tag and tag the animal.
Yeah.
Then you can do whatever else you want to do after that.
Yeah. Preferably field dress and get it cooled off, get your harvest
Yeah.
cooled off. But on to our final category now, guys. This is the emergency stuff, the survival needs. First thing on that list is an emergency blanket. One of they call them space blankets, emergency blankets.
Yeah.
Just something, if you find that, if you're the one that falls down, break your ankle, realize you can't get up and move, you might have to spend a night out in the woods. You want to be able to keep as warm as possible, especially late season rifle hunts like we go.
Yeah, and next on the list is a fire starting kit. So I have this flint right here, and again, it's in a Ziploc to help keep it dry. I didn't pull it out, but I also have and I think Doug does too, a watertight container to keep matches in.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a couple different methods. Extremely lightweight. I mean, ounces. It's not going to add a whole lot to your pack. And, if you get in an overnight situation because you're lost or whatever else, if you have a way to make a fire, you might not be comfortable, but you'll be okay. So
yeah, and it's also a good idea in addition to the matches and the or lighter and the flint to have some sort of initial kindling, whether that's a homemade wax and sawdust
yeah,
method, or if you buy the commercial pyro putty off of Amazon, something that to just help get that fire started that might burn even if all of your kindling that you can scrounge is wet.
yeah,
So um, next item on our list is actually some sort of medic kit, and I do recommend getting a good one. The ones that Target and Walmart. Uh, I've bought those in the past, and anytime I go to use, even the Band-Aids don't stick out of those cheap ones. So I do recommend going to a good company like My Medic or anybody. Doesn't really matter to me who you buy it from, but I would highly recommend getting a good one. Yes, they're more expensive, but it's in the long run. If you need them, you're going to be glad you had a good one.
yeah. And this one also is going to seem like a no-brainer, but you want to carry extra gloves, extra head protection. A lot of you guys know hunting's in the wintertime, so you're going to get rain, you're going to get snow, you're going to get wet.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have some extra uh, gloves, head protection, maybe even socks,
Yep.
those are good things to have in your pack to help keep you warm.
Yeah, nothing's worse than getting your feet wet and being stuck out in the middle of nowhere without being able to change your socks. Even if your boots are wet, just getting that fresh, dry pair of socks on once you get to your sit, it can make or break your hunt that day. So, you don't want to be miserable and miss out on an opportunity because you're so worried about how cold you are.
Yeah.
Next is some sort of a GPS. Now we both have our Garmin's, and we still carry them with us. Although our cell phones work really well now, especially if you have your Onyx app or uh, what Eastman's has one. I mean, I think there's half a dozen different GPS based phone apps. Use whichever one works best for you, but I still recommend if you have an actual handheld GPS, go ahead and bring that as well, just in case your phone dies and you can't get a charge or it gets wet. You drop your phone into a puddle and now all of a sudden you have no GPS. That would kind of ruin things for you. So
Yeah, that usually when we get to a hunting spot where or wherever we drop camp, first thing I do is turn this on. I drop a waypoint and then I turn this off, and it more than likely it's not going to come back on unless, like Doug said, my phone dies or gets wet or broken or something. I at least have a backup if I'm in a situation where I need to get out. Next on the list is radios. This is something else we don't use a whole lot because, again, where we hunt, the phones work remarkably well, so we can text. But it's good to have a radio as a backup, just like this. We're not going to use it a whole lot, but if we're texting and we're not getting a response, we're turning the radios on to see if we can't contact each other.
Yeah, and I mean, most areas, if we're up on a ridge where we hunt, we get great reception. If you're down in a valley, not so much.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, if we know somebody's going to be holding up in one of those valleys, it'll just be like, okay, well, I'm going to be here, so if you hear a shot, maybe turn on your radio really quick to see if it's me and see if we need help cleaning it out or something. So, or field dressing that harvest. So,
Yeah.
and finally, for all of these electronics, you want spare batteries. Uh, our radios, our Garmin's, they all take AA batteries. So we usually have a couple extras for those just in case. Again, one of those things you're hoping you never need, but if you do need them, you're glad you have them.
Yeah. I actually have a couple more, Doug, that we failed to put on our list somehow. I know we talked about it, but binoculars and rangefinders, which would go under harvest essentials,
Mm-hmm.
but and particularly like rangefinders, you typically think of archery season, but I still take my rangefinder even during rifle season because I want to know my 100-yard mark.
Yep.
And and if you're in open field, sometimes that can be hard to judge. And so I like to have the rangefinder. Just I want to make sure I get a good clean shot. And I know my gun well enough. If I know the distance, I'm going to typically have a pretty good shot.
Yeah, same here. It pretty much anytime I'm sitting in a new location that I'm not as familiar with. First thing I'll do is take out that rangefinder and be like, okay, this is 100, 150, 200, out to 400, and just kind of do a like a crescent semicircle of each point and find landmarks so that I can know, like, okay, this is my 100-yard arc, this is my 200-yard arc, this is my 300-yard arc.
Yeah. And the only other thing I have here, Doug, is if you do not have a knife with interchangeable blades, I have a little portable knife sharpener. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're just using a regular knife and you feel like it's getting dull, it's got uh, it's got these built-in angles. They're okay. I mean, these aren't the greatest, and unless you're an expert knife sharpener, uh,
It,
I'm
it it'll get you by though, and
yeah,
that's definitely something that's necessary. I mean, if you've harvested an elk, again, that the particularly the fur on the back of their neck from where that gets roughed up from bashing their antlers together with another elk, that's definitely that's some hard hide to get through, and you will, whatever knife goes into that is going to be dull before you get finished with the neck. So you either have to sharpen it or switch out the blade.
yeah. Here's another thing we forgot real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Marking tape. This is I've never had to use this. I've had this since I was probably a teenager. But if you're in a situation where you're lost and you feel like you're going in circles, or maybe you're in an unfamiliar area and you just want to remember how to get out, um, I've never used this, but I've carried it with me my entire life. You
Yep.
just you never know when you're going to need it. So
And a lot of guys will use that too after a harvest if they're actually trailing the animal, and they'll use it to
yeah,
kind of like, okay, here's the blood trail. I know they were here. They'll flag off on a bush or a tree to kind
yeah,
of, that way, if they lose the trail, they can kind of come back and find it. Fortunately, I've never had to do that either, but it is always a possibility. And again, it's a good thing to just have with you just in case.
yeah. So I think that's it, Doug. If anybody watching this, if there's something we're missing that you think should be on the list, put it in the comments and let us know. But let us know what you carry, particularly for, like Doug said in the beginning, for a day pack. We're not backcountry hunting. Uh, that's that's a whole new video that,
Yep.
that maybe we'll do another time. But uh, we're just talking about the type of hunting we've been doing the last few years. So
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.